Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today is a very special episode of Splat from the Past. As you all know, I'm a big fan of LeeAnn Kreischer and her podcast, Wife of the Party. I will be interviewing one of her very best friends who's on the show quite frequently, Kirsten DiPatri. She is a very friendly, nice lady on the show who tells really good stories, and she's always positive. And she's sometimes an actor. She's acted in some things, and her husband is in the business too. And I'm having her on the show today to talk about that, talk about her journey, just like on Wife of the Party and stuff, and just have a nice conversation. I can't wait. It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty insightful and interesting, just like my conversations with LeeAnn are. So, here is my interview with Kirsten DiPatri. Hey, Kirsten.
Hi, Tommy. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Well, welcome to the show. This is such a great honor because over the last 18 months or so, I've been watching Wife of the Party every week on YouTube, and it's my saving grace here in boring Redding, California, that I look forward to week after week.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be talking to you.
Yes, I get excited when you and Kathy are on there, especially you, because you're such a great storyteller. You're very positive. You're sometimes an actor, which I'm sometimes an actor too. And I have a special place in my heart for Canadians.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I always say to LeeAnn that I feel like Kathy and I are on all of the boring shows, or especially me. I was like, oh, is anyone going to really listen to this? This is boring. I don't know if anyone likes this. And LeeAnn always says, oh, shut up. It's not boring. People like this. But
Yeah, no, it's really good, the ones you guys do.
Oh, thanks so much.
My pleasure. So, going back in time, how did you get to this point? Did you want to act early on?
I did. I was one of those kids who said as soon as I was talking and walking around that I wanted to be an actress. And, I remember when I was quite young in elementary school, I found out that some big actor, I don't know if it was like someone like Tom Cruise or some huge actor, who their agent was. And so I looked up their agent's address at CAA, which is a big agency out in Los Angeles, in Beverly Hills at the time. And I wrote a letter and sent a picture of myself saying, I really want to be an actress. Would you consider representing me? And of course, I did not hear back from this person. I was just a kid in Canada. I've always wanted to act. I was in school plays and community theater, and I did theater in college. And then when I was in college, I was in Hamlet. I played Ophelia. And I was recommended to do that. The director recommended that I go to theater school after college and really lean into it and go to New York. And so I went to New York and went to theater school, and then eventually moved out to Los Angeles to pursue that.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been in LA for?
25 years now.
Wow. 25 years.
Crazy. November was my LA anniversary.
Wow, I was in junior high 25 years ago.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little older than you. Yeah.
Who did you like in movies growing up?
Oh gosh, well, it depends. I remember my mom showed me, and I'm trying to remember which movie, but a Dustin Hoffman movie when I was in elementary school, and I thought, oh my God, he's the best. And so it was sort of a bizarre fixation as an elementary school student that I was like, my favorite actor is Dustin Hoffman. And people were like, really? What have you seen him in? But then, like, when I was in high school, I loved the movie Heathers. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh,
it was
I love
in the
it.
late 80s.
Yeah.
It was a really dark comedy. Yeah, I loved Heathers. So I really loved Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And then, of course, you know, all the serious people like Meryl Streep, Daniel Day-Lewis. But, yeah, in high school, it was all about Winona.
Yeah. Oh, my God. She needs to make a huge comeback after that shoplifting scandal.
I know. Well, Stranger Things. She's the mom in Stranger Things, which is amazing.
That's right. I forgot she's on Stranger Things. That's right.
It's full circle. My kids are obsessed with Stranger Things, and it's just so funny that they think they discovered Winona Ryder. I'm like, no. She's been around a while. Like, like they were so impressed with me that I knew who she was. And I'm like, guys, really?
I remember when she was in her very first movie, the Corey Haim movie, Lucas.
Yes. Oh my God, Lucas. It was so sweet.
Yeah, I love that movie. It's so brilliant. I love that movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Man.
What are your favorite movies?
Oh my gosh, that's too hard a question. What are your favorite movies? Maybe I'll spark something.
Let's see. I love Back to the Future. It's my favorite movie of all time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Night of the Comet.
Oh, is that a horror movie?
It's kind of a homage to like 50s horror and sci-fi movies.
Okay, cool.
From the 80s. Oh, it's one of the most brilliant movies ever made. I love lots of horror stuff. I love Friday the 13th, Dawn of the Dead. But like as far as like, you know, popular Academy Award winning stuff, I love Rocky and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Amadeus.
Oh yeah, Amadeus. Oh my gosh.
Bonnie and Clyde. Love stuff like that.
Those are all fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my favorite movies. Gosh, it's just such a big question. I guess I think back to like a lot of the movies that I loved when I was growing up, like when I was a kid, like Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation, and 16 Candles. Yeah, those were like my childhood favorite movies. And I don't know. This is just too hard. I always have trouble with like favorites of anything because I think, oh no, is that really my favorite? But I also like this and this and this and this and this, and I could spend an hour making a list.
Yeah. That's funny you mentioned Vacation. I just interviewed the first Audrey about a month ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, she was kind of a diva, but it was I'm glad I did it though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, which was the first Audrey? Was that Dana?
That was, well, there's two Danas. There was Dana Barron, which is the first, and then Dana Hill was the second one. Yeah.
Yes, okay, yeah. Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Is it too hard to ask you what's your favorite genre?
My favorite genre. Yeah, it totally depends. Like, I'm thinking about the movies. Like, my favorite movies from this past year were Jojo Rabbit. I loved that movie. So what I liked about it was the sort of absurdist, like the dark comedy. I guess dark comedy is one genre. And I loved Parasite. So good.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I guess comedy or, comedy and drama equally. I do not have the stomach that you have for horror movies.
Yeah.
I was so into them in middle school and high school. I watched all of them, all the Friday the 13th movies,
Yes.
all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Halloween, and then I don't know where it shifted, but all of a sudden I couldn't handle it anymore. And I have a good friend who would always tell me whenever something gross happens, whenever there's a lot of blood in a movie, and I'm like covering my face, he's like, Kirsten, just remember, that's just corn syrup and dye. That's red dye and corn syrup. It's nothing else. That's what movie blood is made out of. And he's always like reminding me of that. And I'm like, I know. I mean, I intellectually know that, but I just can't handle it. My imagination is just running too wild.
Yeah. Yeah, Friday the 13th is my favorite slasher movie of all time. I just bought a wallet for the movie because I needed a new wallet really badly.
Does it have Jason on it?
No, it has. It's kind of the artwork is kind of the poster for the original one.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, and I have a poster for the original one, signed by Tom Savini and the guy who does the music, Harry Manfredini, and I have a DVD signed by everyone who's like left over from the movie still.
Cool.
Yeah, I go to conventions a lot.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, well, I'm still freaked out by the Jason.
Yeah.
that still gives me the creeps.
Yeah, it's so iconic too. And I asked Harry Manfredini when I met him at a convention where he came up with that, and he said if people think it's not. It's actually kill mommy is what he's what
wow.
it is. Yeah.
Even creepier.
Yeah. That's
wow.
To me, that's a composer.
Yeah.
To come up with that. Yeah. What part of Canada are you from?
I'm from Ontario. It's a town called Kitchener, Ontario,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about an hour west of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So it's across the country and north a bit, close to Buffalo, New York, or Detroit, Michigan. Those are sort of equidistant from where I grew up.
I have interviewed so many Canadians, probably more Canadians more than anybody. They are so sweet, and they have such a taboo sense of humor.
Yeah, I think it's a survival humor that I think there's like a darker sense of humor when you're in a colder climate, and you just have to get on with it.
Yeah.
It's also the sort of British stiff upper lip sort of thing of just like, okay then.
Yeah, I have never offended a Canadian.
They probably still apologize.
Oh yeah, they still do. I was watching the first Wife of the Party you did, and it was the one where you guys were talking about side jobs, and you mentioned that you were a stand-in.
Yes, I was. For a few years there. I started standing in on a show called Family Law.
Yeah.
With Tony Danza and Kathleen Quinlan and Christopher McDonald and Dixie Carter. I was Dixie's stand-in.
Julie Warner was on it too.
Yes, and Julie Warner. Mm-hmm. Wow, you're good.
Oh,
your research.
I'm a huge Julie Warner fan. I've been trying to get her on the podcast for a while now.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Usually when I say Family Law, nobody has any idea what I'm talking about. They're like, oh, LA Law? I'm like, no, that was another legal show. A different show.
Yeah.
Family Law was kind of interesting because it was before, like, a lot of the writers and producers on it was before their huge successes. So the creator, executive producer, writer, Paul Haggis, this was before he won the Oscar for Crash.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was Best Picture one year. But so Family Law predated that, and then David Shore created House with Hugh Laurie.
Yeah,
it's another one of the head writers on Family Law, and I'm trying to think of the other ones. Like basically everybody involved in Family Law. Family Law was sort of like a little known show. I mean, it was popular enough to be on the air for a few seasons on CBS, but it wasn't like, honestly, more grandmothers that I knew of it than people our age. A lot of the people involved in it ended up going on to be pretty famous.
Yeah. I have two really good friends who are stand-ins too, and they got good stories and stuff. Peggy Lane O'Rourke, she was a stand-in on Seinfeld, and
wow, I bet she has a lot of stories. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah, and also King of Queens too. She did this hilarious episode. It was really creepy though. This hilarious episode of the King of Queens, where she's an ice cream vendor wearing a strawberry ice cream cone costume, and Patton Oswalt falls in love with her, and she does not take that costume off the entire episode, and she does not talk, and he's in love with her and stuff, and she's like giving him free ice cream and flirting that way and stuff. It's just really weird. And if you meet Peggy, you could see why she would do a role like that. She's very free-spirited, non-judgmental. She's very eccentric in her own way, and that role was perfect for her. The first podcast I did with her, oh my God, she told me she had listened to an episode of the podcast with a mutual friend of ours, and it was a very graphic episode where we were talking about masturbation. And I said to her, "Oh God, are you going to judge me?" And she's like, "No, it's a natural part of life. Everybody does it." I laughed a lot during that episode, and I was like, "Okay, good." I was just really embarrassed.
Dodged a bullet.
I always try to make it a point to send people an episode of my show, and sometimes I'll forget, and I'm just always hoping if they go find one out of their own volition, it's not going to be a graphic one like that, you know?
Well, I immediately went to LeeAnn's first podcast, because, of course, she's my friend, and I wanted to hear what she had to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
Of course.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, the second one we did, I was going through a lot during the second one that we did. Some horrible stuff happened to me last May that I was telling her about and stuff, and I just look back now, I was like, oh my God, I should have just snapped out of it, but I couldn't get it out of my mind,
Oh, well, I haven't heard the second one yet.
It's not bad or anything. It's just like for me personally, I was just like, I should have just at least attempted to be more upbeat and cheerful, There's
no need to pretend, though. I mean, I think that's one of the great things about podcasting, and sort of one of the great things about the time that we're living in, that there's less of a need to gloss over things. I feel like growing up in the 80s, there was a more polished, at 80s and 90s, it was like a more polished, I don't know, just whether it was, there weren't podcasts then, but like radio interviews or TV, it was just all very polished. And now people are very open about just about the messiness of life, because everybody's lives are messy in different ways, and really challenging in different ways. And it's important to talk about that.
Yeah, I've gone on YouTube and I've looked at big name people on like local talk shows that the rest of the world don't see or something, and I hear they talk almost like they're talking on a podcast today about stuff. They're talking very honestly about dark stuff in show business in the industry, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the early podcast,
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. Oh my God, a good example of that, Lou Reed. He was, a very honest, straightforward guy, who didn't sugarcoat anything, and he talked like that on like local talk shows back then.
Cool.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, he's saying, all this bad stuff about the Beatles and stuff. You listen to his music, you listen to the Beatles, it's two different, ilks,
Yeah. It's like one's from the moon and one's from another planet.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, my other friend I wanted to bring up who's a stand-in, her name's Terry Bolo. She's one of the founding members of the Groundlings.
Oh, cool. I took classes at the Groundlings.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Cool.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to be a member of the Groundlings when I was in high school. I wanted to graduate and go to L.A. and go take classes at the Groundlings, but it ended up not happening, sadly to say. But she founded them. Her and her aunt Gloria Vassie and Lorraine Newman, who later went on Saturday Night Live. Her and her sister Tracy. They were taking a workshop class for a guy named Gary Austin, and they decided to form a group out of it, and that's how it happened. And Terry, she was a casting assistant at Warner Brothers, and she got to do bit parts in many classic Warner Brothers movies in the late 70s, early 80s, and that led to her being a stand-in. And she's like 5'2", and she could pass as a little girl, and so she did a lot of stand-in work for little girls.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like you ever seen the Blues Brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, the little girl in the restaurant when John Belushi is messing with that family. How much for the little girl? She was her stand-in.
That's funny.
Yeah, and she's got stories like that. She was a stand-in for Dolly Parton on the movie Rhinestone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's actually a lot shorter than Dolly Parton, but they needed her, so they put a wig on her and they put on a dress like she was wearing, and stuff like that. Yeah. So, how did you meet LeeAnn?
So LeeAnn and I met at our daughter's elementary school. Mm-hmm. I think we originally met just through volunteering there. Their school puts on a big fair for the community each year, where there's bouncy houses and carnival games and a big silent auction and lots of food and performances and that kind of stuff, and lots of water rides, like water slides and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I think I met her there first and sort of, would just run into her at a lot of volunteer things and on campus and say hello. And then when my younger daughter was going to start, when my younger daughter was in kindergarten, they asked if she would be interested in being a Girl Scout. And I had not had a great experience in Girl Scouts when I was a kid. I was in Girl Scouts for 1 year when I was in third grade. Mm-hmm. I sort of went through it, tried to earn a bunch of badges, and then otherwise it's like, this is really boring. These people, these old ladies are boring. The activities that we do are boring. The songs are boring. This is just too boring. So I quit. I just did it for 1 year. So I didn't get my older daughter involved in Girl Scouts because I thought, Girl Scouts is boring. Yeah. So they asked me in kindergarten if my younger daughter wanted, and I said, no, not interested. And then over the year, I realized that a lot of my daughter's friends were in LeeAnn's troop, mm-hmm. and they asked me again in the summer between kindergarten and first grade, would she be interested? And I thought, these are all of her friends anyway. She wants to hang out with them. So I said, okay, yes. And I just said to my daughter, you know what, we'll just try it out, see if you like it. And then somehow within 6 weeks, our mutual friend Sandy, who was one of the leaders, the Girl Scout leaders, she was, her family was going to out of the country for her husband's work. And she was a Girl Scout leader, and they needed another Girl Scout leader. So somehow within about 6 weeks, it went from my daughter joining Girl Scouts to, and by the way, would you be interested in being a leader? And at the time, I was not interested at all in being a leader. I was barely interested in Girl Scouts. But I said yes because I liked LeeAnn, and I liked Kathy and Lynn, the other leaders, and I liked Sandy, the leader that was going away. And so that's when I really got to know LeeAnn, because there was a lot of planning involved. There's like going on camping trips together, and just the meetings with the kids, and we really got to know each other a lot better. And then over the years, I realized, wait a minute, I actually like being a Girl Scout leader. The first year I was kind of like, oh, I'm doing this because Sandy tricked me into doing it, and I don't know if I really want to do this. But I love the other women that I'm doing it with. I love the kids, and I realized that it doesn't have to be this boring thing like the experience that I had, that it really is. It's like all things in life. It is what you bring to it. So, the kids come up with fun ideas. We come up with fun ideas. We let them do what they want to do. And, it's fun. So I'm really glad that I got to know LeeAnn, because she's a lot of fun. She's a very loyal friend, and, just a cool person.
Yes, she is.
So getting to know her through that, and then when she started the podcast, she obviously asks her friends to be on the podcast. I think the first podcast that I was on was about being Girl Scout leaders, which I was like, oh, this is officially going to be the most boring one ever.
Yeah, speaking of Boy Scouts, my brother was in the Boy Scouts, and he's 9 years older than me. And I wanted to be in the Boy Scouts, but everything that my brother did, I couldn't do because he had bad experiences. Like, I couldn't do Little League or anything like that. I couldn't go camping. I finally went camping when I was 30, and I did some amazing stuff I never thought I could do. Like, I swam in a lake with fishes, something you could never get me to do like 10 years before that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's like a gift, though, not getting to do things at a younger age and then doing it in adulthood, because it's like you value it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. That whole camping trip in general, though, was just a drunk nightmare. We were all drinking on that trip. Oh my God, it was nuts. But I'm glad I did it. When LeeAnn asked you to be on, were you reluctant?
No, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, I listen to podcasts, why not?
Because I'm often curious and surprised. Certain people, like I have my friends who are not in show business come on the podcast, and they are very down to talk about anything, and I'm just like, God, where did this come from? I never would expect that from them, because they're so private,
Yeah, well, I have to say that I'm definitely one of the more private in that group. I know that some of the podcasts have been a lot more open than ones that I have been willing to be on. Sometimes LeeAnn will put out an email to a group of friends just saying, hey, would anybody be willing to talk about whatever, XYZ? And some of them I've just said, sorry, I'm not willing to talk about that. And some of it isn't even just about me. It's just about the privacy of, my family, or like, do my parents really want to like venture across, like what if my parents' friends venture across a podcast and about me talking about something that they're like, oh, this is uncomfortable, or, but particularly my kids, like, I don't want to breach any of their privacy. I want them to be able to have their own experiences without thinking like, ugh, everybody knows what my mom is talking about.
Yeah. I mean, when I reach out to certain friends, I ask them if they're cool about talking about this or that, so I don't do the email thing like that, who's willing to talk about this or that,
Right.
But like, just individual people and stuff. And yeah, we have some pretty interesting conversations, I have to say. I had one friend, oh my gosh, she did not know that I was going to bring up that she was bisexual on the air, right? And not that she wasn't like willing to talk about it, right? But it came out of left field, I mean, I told her we we were going to have a taboo conversation, and she said, okay, well, I'll talk about any of that stuff, right? And she told me on the air, she's like, I'll come back on. Well, she told me like a few months later when I reached out to her again, no, I am not coming back on.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was honestly not trying to put her on the spot or offend her or anything, you know. I honestly wasn't. You know, I wasn't thinking at the time. I was drinking too much caffeine. When I drink too much caffeine, it impairs my judgment sometimes.
Banned from coffee from now on.
I know. I really need that, especially when I've been having trouble sleeping a lot, you know.
Yeah. I always joke about having, I tell my husband that he needs to like put a parental control on the TV or on my internet use or whatever when I'm sort of going over and over something that is too, I don't know, that isn't necessarily great for my mental health in that moment. Like when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I watched Oprah one day, and it was about, I mean, it was horrible. I mean, I don't even want to get into what it was about. It was horrible and it was so traumatic, and I was crying about it, and my husband's like, oh my God, you need to be banned from watching Oprah. I don't think anybody's banned from watching Oprah. It's like, you know, it's not really, he's like, no, you need to be banned from watching Oprah. I need to set up a parental block on the TV, and instead of like being banned from watching like violent shows or whatever, you need to be banned from watching Oprah because it makes you cry.
Yeah. I think everybody should be banned from watching Oprah. I'm not a fan. But that's just me. Yeah, your husband, he works in the business as producing, right?
He does. He produced a whole bunch of indie movies, and then he now mostly works as a location manager in television. So they find all of the locations that are, all of the buildings, all of the rooms, all of the just any place that they shoot at.
Yeah, he did a show. I was looking it up. He did a show that I actually tried to get on before I moved out of the Bay Area. A show called Chance.
Oh yeah.
If you heard the first interview I did with LeeAnn, I mentioned my car accident.
Yes.
So after I got out of the hospital, and I was really pursuing comedy and acting in the Bay Area, and I joined one of those casting networks, and one of them was they were going to be filming a restaurant scene on the show Chance in San Mateo, a restaurant I knew, by the way.
Uh-huh.
And they needed some background people, and so I sent a picture of myself, and I made up some credits, and I sent it to them, and I never heard back, and I was really counting on it. I was like, oh God, that would be great to be on a brand new Hulu series with Hugh Laurie, just to be in the background. That'd be so cool. And I didn't get that. I got to be in a music video, which wasn't part of the casting thing. It was a Craigslist ad I saw. We were shooting this music video in this nightclub up in San Francisco. We were shooting as early as 8 in the morning till about 6 o'clock at night. It was a lot of fun. The director, he was kind of a dick to all the extras, but he was, one of those really artistic guys who's like working with the actors that are playing the lead in the video. And he's barely even talking to the band, I'll tell you. And the lead singer of the band, she was hilarious. She was like telling dirty jokes in between takes and stuff. And I had her on the podcast about a year ago. Oh my God. I think I liked her more that day. She was just nuts when I was talking to her on the podcast. And we had like 40 boxes of pizza for lunch that day. We all got to take some home. It was awesome. Yeah, it was a really great day. And you have to like pause it to see me in the video a couple times. And plus, I'm the tallest one there. I'm 6'3", and you just got to like pause it to see me. It's on YouTube. It's the band is called The New Up, and the video is called Black Swan.
Excellent, cool.
Yeah. So I tried to do that. I tried to get in a lot of stuff. I tried to get in a Metallica video that was being filmed up in Marin County. My friend who was in the music video with me for The New Up, he had to work that day, and like we couldn't go up there together. And so I missed out on being in the Metallica video because I couldn't get no one to take me.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Other shows he's worked on, I'm Dying Up Here.
Yes.
I like that show when it was on. It's too bad it didn't last long. I think that show rubbed a lot of people the wrong way that, was really there back then at the Comedy Store.
Yes, I think you're right. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of them I've talked to, and but there's some really good stories and really good acting on that show. And he worked on Supergirl.
Yes, yeah. He loved that, and he wanted to continue with the show. After the first season, they moved to Canada, and when you have a show in Canada, you have to have a certain percentage of the people working on your show be Canadian. You can't, go to another country and just bring everybody from this country. So he did not move on with Supergirl, but he loved working on that show. That was actually one of the most fun shows that he's worked on for the family, because most of his shows, like, when you have little kids, like, you can't go, oh, Daddy, watch I'm Dying Up Here. Like, like, it's not appropriate for little kids. Like, Chance, they're not going to want to watch Chance, but it was just at a really good age for my kids. We have two daughters, and that they were totally into Supergirl. So it was really cool getting to go to like an advanced screening and to meet Supergirl, and she came out in the costume, and all the kids were just wide-eyed, and it was very exciting.
Yeah.
And we got to go shadow for a day on the set, and that was really cool for them to go back to school and go, oh yeah, we were just hanging out at Supergirl, Melissa Benoist, and
Nice. Did he get to work with Kevin Smith?
Did he work with Kevin? I don't think so. It's funny, they're from the same town in New Jersey.
Nice.
But I don't think that he has. I feel like I would remember that.
Yeah, because he directed many episodes a few years ago. And Kevin Smith is the reason why I started this podcast, because in 2016, early in the year, I had thought about starting a podcast, but I was not living in a really good environment. I was living in a level 2 group home, which, by the way, I'd like to have Kathy on the show because she mentioned she used to work in the group homes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reached out to her. I haven't heard back yet, but that was.
Did you reach out on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guarantee Kathy hasn't seen it, because I hadn't seen your Facebook message either. I didn't realize it, but Facebook, or at least I don't know if it's my settings or what, but there was like a secondary mailbox. There's like the mailbox of all the people that you are in regular contact with. Mm-hmm. Then there's a hidden mailbox.
Yeah. The filter.
People that you don't know.
Yeah.
Filtered one. So I didn't even know there was a filtered one, and I happened to see it when I hit the wrong button on Facebook one day, and was like, oh, I have 3 messages in here. What's this all about? But Kathy, I think, is on Facebook the least out of anyone that I know, like officially. So I'll mention it to Kathy.
Oh, thank you. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to start a podcast, but I was living in that level 2 group home. And then I found out that he was going to be at the San Jose Improv doing a screening of his movie Yoga Hosers. And my mom, she she's working a great job at the time. After we'd been struggling for a few years, she bought me a VIP package to go to his show and meet him. And I go to the show. Oh my God, the show was hella delayed, which I know must have pissed him off.
Mm.
You know, we were there until like 12:30 at night because it started at like 6 or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty late. And he went on this long rant for like a half an hour about how great the podcast world is now, you know, since he started doing it before the word even existed.
Right.
He like pretty much was like one of the pioneers of the word with his podcast Smodcast, you know. And it was really uplifting and inspired me, you know. He says, take your iPhone if you have to and do a podcast and all this. And then when my mom and I got this place up here, I finally started doing it, you know, within a couple of weeks. And I've got 720 so far out of it.
Wow, that's an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah. And, you know, I was very embarrassed by the first 30 episodes I did because I was pre-recording the interview on a dictation recorder. I was trying to do what Mark Maron does. I was trying to do the intro live and then play the interview, and that just didn't work. I pissed off a few people that I interviewed about that, and other people, they were willing to come back on in the future and do others, you know. But I was really embarrassed by it. So what I did was I started putting the iPhone on top of the landline and recording it that way, and it's worked to my advantage.
Cool.
Yeah.
It is, honestly, technology is amazing, isn't it?
It is.
I just think about this would not have been possible, I don't know how long ago, 20 years ago or even less than that. I think about even when cell phones came out and you definitely couldn't do a podcast on a phone.
Yeah. I used to do imaginary radio shows in my bedroom when I was a kid. I grew up idolizing Howard Stern, and I'd watch a show on E! And stuff, and I would just do imaginary radio shows. And when I was in high school, people told me that I had a great voice for the radio, and that's what I was going to end up doing someday. I didn't believe them, and then I start this podcast. I was like, okay, I'm a self-made maverick in the world of broadcasting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have a good voice.
Oh, thank you. You know, people think because my last name is Kovac that I must be Russian or Bosnian or Yugoslavian. Well, I'm actually Croatian, you know.
Oh, I love Croatia.
Yeah.
I've done a movie and a mini-series there quite a while ago now, 17 years ago-ish, something like that. And I was able to go over, and actually I ended up having a part in one of the shows that he worked on. Mm-hmm. And we spent a bunch of time in Croatia. Gorgeous, gorgeous country. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we don't know too much about our family heritage and stuff. And when I first started doing stand-up comedy, I tried to incorporate Croatian jokes, but people did not get them.
Yeah, I guess it's pretty obscure.
It's very obscure, yeah. I said things like, if you pull our ears, every bell in Bosnia goes off. If we worship Hitler, so we burn the books, stuff like that. Just no one got them, so I stopped doing them after a while. It became embarrassing. But yeah, I started.
Are you still doing stand-up?
I'm taking a break from it because there's no stand-up up here in Reading and everything, and I got fucked over pretty badly in the Bay Area doing stand-up. When I came back from my accident and I was going on stage like every single night, I was doing more stage time during that period than I ever had, and so many established comedians were being haters and spreading rumors about me that weren't true. And a lot of awful stuff happened, So I've been taking a break from it. But, when the Me Too movement happened, he started spreading this rumor about me that, so many female comedians believed, and they, unfriended me. And a lot of them had been on my podcast, too, and they had no complaints about me. It was just, it's like how politics can be in stand-up, Mm. It's awful. It's awful. I mean, I do plan on doing it again when I go back to LA and stuff, but Yeah, it's just it was an awful thing that happened. You know, I hate, every industry is cutthroat, no matter what it is. But people talk about show business being cutthroat. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You know, I mean, the steel industry is cutthroat. The tech industry is cutthroat. Working at Baskin Robbins is cutthroat. Everything is cutthroat. There's nothing you can really do about it. But
except for working at Baskin Robbins is more delicious than some of the other options.
oh, I know. We just had one open last summer, and I got an ice cream cake for my birthday.
Oh, Baskin Robbins ice cream cakes are the best.
Yeah.
LeeAnn strongly believes that too. I know that. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn there. Oh.
Yeah, I've been dieting for the last a month and a half since January 1st because I found out I was on the cusp of pre-diabetes because I was too fat. I've lost 22 pounds so far, and I've been.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. I've been avoiding all sugars. I eat those Atkins bars.
Okay, yeah.
That's the only dessert that I have, and so I just been dropping pounds. And my mom told me the other day, I can't believe it. Oh my God, you're starting to look so great now.
Oh, congratulations. Wow, that must feel great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I'm a lot more positive now. Last year, I was pretty damn negative. It was a bad year. 18 and 19 were two pretty bad years. And there was all this stuff going on in the family with alcoholism. My mom and my brother has been struggling with it.
Oh, boy.
And the stuff that happened to me last May, oh my God, so this is what happened, right? My mom and I, we went out to LA for a week, and we had a lot of fun in April last year. We come back, and about 2 weeks later, everything bad happens in just 2 days. My mom takes a fall at work, and she breaks her shoulder.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she's in a lot of pain from it now. And the pharmaceutical companies out here suck, and they're having her drink like bottles of wine because she can't get medication, and it's just terrible. And I was supposed to do my own horror movie hosting show. I got some friends together. I wrote a script that was just hilarious. Get some friends together. We were going to shoot me being a horror host, and that project fell through because my quote-unquote comedy mentor decided to step down as producer, and I didn't want to do it without him, so I was pretty devastated about that. And then, oh God, this was the biggest one. I was supposed to live out in LA for a few months. This girl that I met on Facebook about a year before, who was a fan of the podcast, she was willing to give me a place to stay. And then she gets in trouble with the law.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was supposed to be out there from July to November, and I couldn't do it. And I was just, so upset that, she just dashed my hopes like that, Yeah.
Oh.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. So this year, we're trying to figure out what I'm going to do and stuff. I may go out there, for a few months like I originally planned last year, or my friend and I were just going to go. My mom's friend, he's going to let us borrow his camper.
Cool.
Yeah, so hopefully we can make that happen. And I got offered a movie role when I was there last year. And the movie hasn't been financed yet, but I've been touching base with the guy every couple of months about it. I had him on the show. His name's Jerry G. Angelo. He's made these little independent films that he's written, produced, directed, and starred in. He's a self-made maverick, and oh God, he's a very talented guy. He did this. It's a horror movie. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's called Arctic. It's called Arctic. It's like in the tradition of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Hills Have Eyes, It's about, people living in a secluded area in the wilderness, and there's murder going on,
Uh-huh.
I know you're not into horror.
It's a classic setup, though.
Yeah, he's really good in it. It's a really good creepy horror film. He's very eclectic too. This movie he offered me was a mafia movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he had done a war movie about post-traumatic stress disorder called, what's it called, Warcraft or Warfighter, something like that. It's on Amazon Prime, and Donnie Wahlberg picked it up for distribution, or Mark Wahlberg, I'm sorry. And yeah, he's a really talented guy. He's in his early 40s. He's been out in L.A. for like 15 years. He's a self-made maverick, and I think he's going to continue doing really good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting out there even though you're in Reading.
Yeah, I mean, we have a casting call page on Facebook that I check back every so often, but not a lot of stuff is shot out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't give up hope.
But it's beautiful up there, though, right?
It is. I mean, there's the sun's always out. When it's hot up here, it's hot. It's like Arizona hot or LA hot. When it's cold, it's storms. There's thunder and lightning, which is scary. I am afraid of thunder and lightning.
It's funny because I grew up in a place that had thunder and lightning, and I didn't think twice about it. But moving to LA, and it's like desert here, and it hardly ever rains. And even when it does rain, we don't get electrical storms like that. So it was really shocking when I finally heard thunder and saw lightning again after many, many, many years of not seeing it. And it was scary for my kids too. And I was like, that's so weird. Like, it was nothing to me growing up, but it's shocking. Like, I guess you just get desensitized to it if you grow up around it.
Yeah, I am so afraid of lightning that when it comes up in a movie, I have to mute it because it sounds so realistic and scary. It's just, I went to go get some Chinese food. It's like a block away. It was a rainy day where there was lightning, and I could have been struck by lightning. It was so terrifying, and somebody told me, it's like, no, if you're like the tallest one out there, like a tree, you're going to get hit. But if you're tall but not that tall, you have nothing to worry about. And I'm like, yeah, but it's so scary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, and people do get hit by lightning. I mean, it's not like it never happens.
Yeah. I can't remember the last time I heard of somebody getting hit by lightning, though. It's been a while. I think maybe people are being more aware of it now.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really scary. Is there lightning up in Canada?
Yeah, where I grew up, definitely.
Wow.
I mean, Canada is it's larger than the United States, so there are lots of different climates, and it's like, I find that most Americans kind of think, oh, Canada must have been really cold, and they're shocked to find out that my parents have a pool, and it's outrageously hot in the summer. In some ways hotter than here, even though the temperature isn't officially hotter, but the humidity is so high that it feels quite tropical.
Yeah.
In the summer. But yeah, we do get snow, and snow in the winter. Just 4 seasons. Like, the seasons are very distinct. In LA, there really aren't distinct seasons. It's hotter in the summer and cooler in the winter, but otherwise it's sort of, gradations between the two, but it's basically always sunny. But yeah, where I grew up, it was snowed in the winter, and spring is, rainy, and the flowers are blooming, and the summer is hot, 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 and the fall, the leaves are falling off of the trees. That was the weirdest thing coming to LA and realizing, like, oh, well, the leaves fall off of the trees in maybe January something. It's just so bizarre. Like, it's, leaves are falling off the trees in October. Where I grew up, it's, fall in fall. But we have this weird climate here where it's like, oh, okay, it's fall in January.
Yeah. Would you agree that Canadian bacon is basically ham?
Yes. It's not, Canadian bacon is an American invention.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's just ham.
Yeah, I used to have it on pizza, especially for Domino's. That was pretty good. Yeah, I was thinking about that not too long ago, though, about how Canadian bacon is basically ham, and I didn't know, I didn't know that was an American thing. It's just like French bread, you know, or English muffins. There was a comedian years ago. He said he went to England. He asked for English muffins. They never heard of them.
Yeah. Yeah, or like French fries in France. Like, it's not like that's a big thing that's eaten there.
Yeah. It's a weird language barrier with food that we have.
Yeah. Yes.
You know. Oh, I wanted to bring up on that episode where you guys are talking about side jobs. You told a very funny story about almost working for a phone sex hotline.
Yes. Oh my God. So embarrassing. I just, I was broke and I thought, wow, Spain, well, and I can do this. I'm an actress. It's not real. I can do this. I can do this. And then as soon as I was there and looking around, it just felt so seedy, and the boss was so creepy and sleazy looking. And then I was going to have to do this interview, this audition, basically to do phone sex, but like in front of him, like pick up a phone, and he was going to be the other guy. And I thought, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this. And when he had to take a call, I literally ran out of there. I ran down the hall. Oh my gosh. I ran into a friend who I worked with at a club, like at night. I worked at a restaurant club. And I ran into him on the elevator, and he said, "Oh, are you coming from the McDonald's audition?" or whatever audition he was coming from.
Yeah.
And I was like, "No." And he went, "Oh, are there other castings going on here?" And I just like clammed up. I was just so embarrassed. I was like, "No, I don't want anyone to know what I've just almost done, what I was considering."
Yeah. When I was 10 years old, I used to watch USA Up All Night and watch the cult, horror sci-fi movies that they would play on USA Up All Night. And the Scream Queen, Brink Stevens, she had a phone sex hotline that they would advertise in between segments of the movies and stuff. And I made an attempt to go call her, and I was 10 years old. And, this was back before cell phones. We had the house phones. I went into the kitchen where our house phone was, and I could have swore I thought I heard someone getting up, so I just ran back into my room. I didn't do it. So
funny. I mean, it's like so low level, but it's very funny. Yeah, I had this vision. There was this movie. I don't know when it was. Like maybe in the early 90s, a Spike Lee movie called Girl 6.
Yep.
About the phone sex hotline. And the girls, there was like this camaraderie between the girls, and I just kind of romanticized it in the same way that I romanticized boarding school and, orphanages based on Annie or like just from movies. It was like, oh yeah, I can suffer through this and have a good story. And I was like, oh, no, I cannot. And my only good story is running from the interview. As if I was being chased in a horror movie. My God, like.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's crazy. Yeah. I think that's why Brink Stevens hasn't been on the podcast too, because I've told that story before. I've had, just amazing people I've interviewed, just people that I never thought I would. And there have been a few times where after I interviewed them, I cried because I felt so undeserving of it.
That's not, you're not. I mean, you're not undeserving. Nobody's undeserving of, and if good things happen, then that's just something to take in. I hear you. I've definitely felt like that before. I've thought, who am I to deserve this? But do. You know, when good things happen, we just have to, life is hard. You just have to soak in the good stuff and enjoy it while it lasts, because something else challenging is going to happen. It's going to come around the bend when we least expect it. And that, you know, the good things are the things that keep us going, because the memory of the good things, and that there will be future good things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, occasionally, you know, I interview somebody that disappoints me, you know, but I've interviewed so many just wonderful people for the most part, you know. There was 2 interviews I did in January of last year, coincidentally a week apart from each other, that I never released because one person hung up on me 3 minutes in, the only time I've ever had someone hang up on me. And the other person, she made me very uncomfortable, and then she had to go about 15 minutes in.
Oh.
And so I just erased them, never released them and stuff. But other than that, yeah, I've just had so many great ones. You know, I've had several people come on multiple times too, up to at least 5 or 6 times in some cases.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, I'm just so damn lucky, you know.
How often do you release? Is it like once a week, or?
Oh no, I do every day, and sometimes several times a day. Yeah, I'm prolific.
Wow.
Because there's nothing to do up here in Reading, really, except go shopping, you know? And so while I'm not doing anything else at the moment, I'm just podcasting constantly, or I'm going to the gym. That's all I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like real cabin fever up here in the countryside. And yeah, that's basically what I do. It's amazing. Yes, several times a week, several times a day. And I have fun the entire time when I do it. It's never like a job.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah.
That's living the dream. When you can do something that doesn't feel like a job.
It can be stressful, especially if I'm dealing with a manager or an agent, which is very rare, because I talk to everybody, you know, directly. But that can be stressful at times. Oh my God. I'll tell you this one story. God, I'm gonna tell this story forever. I'll probably put it in a book someday, you know. I've interviewed so many people from the George Romero zombie movies because I love them, you know. And so I reached out to this woman. Her name's Linda Miller. She was in King Kong Escapes in 1967, Japanese King Kong movie. And she said that she would do the podcast. Then all of a sudden I hear from her manager. His name was Jim. And he asked me if he could hear an episode of my podcast. So I said, sure. So I sent him an episode, and he said, okay, Linda's available this day. And great. So we do it, and it was a pleasant experience. And then after it was posted, he sent me a message, you know, saying that he wanted to hear it, and I sent it to him. Never heard back, and I didn't expect to. And so then every year there's a George Romero. It's kind of like a convention, but not really, in Pennsylvania, where they have a day where they have people from his movies there signing autographs and doing panels and what have you. And I wanted to reach out to some Romero people I haven't interviewed yet to, promote the event. So I reach out to 3 people, and every time I've interviewed people from that camp, it's always directly. It's never through a manager, right? 3 people I reach out to say to me, contact my manager, and his name is Jim. And I didn't think it was the same Jim, nor, you know, did I worry or not, because as far as I knew, everything was pleasant, you know?
Yeah.
So I reach out to this Jim, and then I keep reaching out to him for weeks because there was no response. You know, I'm doing it like once a week, being persistent. Then he replies me back, and he says, I'm the same Jim that manages Linda Miller. And I know that you interviewed George's second wife, Christine Romero, and stuff. I am very disappointed that you did that. And I've listened to your podcast. It's like listening to an old transistor radio. You don't have a big enough following. You provide no value for your guests. So you won't be interviewing any more of my clients. So I replied back to him and I said, first off, why do you think so many people love my podcast? Because it's like listening to an old transistor radio. That's the whole idea of it, you know? Also, too, I may not have a huge following, but I'm genuinely interested and curious about my guests and what they have to say. Also, too, you'll be hearing from my attorney if you fucking tell people not to be on my podcast.
Yeah.
I told him. And all he could reply me back with was, just stay away from me and my clients, and that's it. He didn't have anything else to add.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, what a jerk, huh?
Yeah.
That's what I have to deal with sometimes.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. But that's just how they are, you know. And I've talked to several people, and they said, yeah, there are managers out there that are like that, you know. And
yeah.
I don't know why people stay with them for as long as they do. But hopefully they learn and they move on, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And stuff like that. It's just it's time consuming and it's stupid.
Yeah.
I think, you know. I was really surprised though when I reached out to LeeAnn last January of last year. I was surprised that she wanted to do it because, you know, I'm not a big name. I have, you know, a minimal following, you know, but, you know, I guess, you know, coming on twice, she had a good time talking to me.
Yeah, LeeAnn's a good egg. She's no BS.
Yeah, I like people who are no BS. That's what I'm attracted to because I'm that way too, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's held me
Mine's
back.
Too short to be otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's held me back in some cases, but in other ways, it's been a very big advantage because the people who gravitate toward me are also no BS.
Cool.
You know. Oh, I told LeeAnn that you know, my mom and we went to the Comedy Store and we saw Bird on stage
cool.
when we were in LA last April, right? I don't know. I guess maybe she had a fight with him something earlier that morning, so she didn't want to talk about that.
Oh no!
I don't know, but I thought that was pretty funny. My mom got drunk. She heckled Bert. She heckled every comedian that went up there that night.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, especially if she heard a comedian that was just way too raunchy for her taste. What's his name? Harlan Williams.
Uh-huh.
He went up there. Oh God, he was great. My mom liked him a lot. You know, she'd seen him in movies, but
yeah.
She just was just laughing out loud at stuff he was saying and stuff. And he like asked me a question from the audience. I forgot what it was. And then afterwards, like, he came over to me and like gave me a handshake and said, "Thank you, sir." You know. And then I went to the bathroom later, and he was walking. He was like, "Hey, there he is." You know. I thought that was cool. I wish I'd gotten a picture with him. You know.
Yeah. Well, at least you have the picture in your head.
Yeah. I just hope people believe me.
I believe you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. What time do you have to pick up your kids today?
Not till the afternoon. Yeah.
Not till the afternoon.
Life.
I can't believe how early kids get out of school today.
Yeah, it does seem early, doesn't it?
Yeah, when I was a kid, we got off at 3.
Yes, but I think they start earlier now because, I don't know, I think I started a lot later in the day than my kids do.
We were 8 to 3.
8 to 3?
Yeah. And, oh my God, it wasn't until I think I reached high school, we started having like early days, like 12:30 on some days. Yeah, school at 12:30, especially if we were having finals.
Uh-huh.
You know, but yeah, it was always 3 o'clock when I was growing up, 8 to 3. I think they did 8 to 4 a little bit when my brother was in school in the early years, and then they changed it to 8 to 3. But I'm not too certain about that.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty early. On most of the week, I'm leaving here by about. Actually, My kids get out at, my younger daughter gets out at 3:10. So it was in elementary school. It was earlier than that, but it means leaving here at about 2:30 or 2:40, and yeah, it's okay. It's not bad.
Yeah, I'm just so glad I'm not in school anymore. I mean, the last time I was in school was in junior college. The year right after my grandmother died, like 6 months later, a year after I graduated. Because after I graduated high school, I had to take care of my grandmother for 9 months until she died. And I went into junior college and I studied film. And I was too busy making jokes and not taking things seriously because I was very rebellious. I was challenging, the teacher and correcting him whenever he made mistakes about, who played what, who directed what, That's just my nature. I'm like that with everyone, especially on this podcast. And and he told me on the last day that I was in class, he said, you're a terrible writer. You need to take writing classes. And I never have. So I'm glad I'm not in school anymore because of that. And if he only saw me now.
Yeah, well, you're obviously still writing, so.
Yep. Oh my God. Yeah, it was just stupidity there. So what else do you do these days when you're not acting?
So I got really into sewing my own wardrobe. I haven't bought clothes in a couple of years now, and I sew all my own clothes. It sounds very bizarre. It sounds like I should be living on a farm in the middle of nowhere. But there's this community of people on Instagram who just sew their own clothes, who just don't buy clothes anymore and sew their own clothes, and it seems like the friendliest corner of the internet. Comments can be really nasty in social media sometimes, and this is just like a really positive group of people, and so yeah, that's what I do. I sew my own clothes and post pictures of it on Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I do have a job. I work, I edit a book that gets published twice a year, actually 3 times this year. But so I'm a book editor and otherwise a mom, and other than that, I am sewing my own clothes.
I thought you were
posting weird pictures on Instagram.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say you edit film.
No.
Yeah. I have so many ambitions of what I want to accomplish, I'm going to be 40 in 3 years. And so I want to do well in stand-up comedy, and I want to act, and I want to write movies and star in them, and I want to horror host, and
oh, that's a good idea for you.
I want to do a podcast like LeeAnn where it's on camera and everybody's there, in the room. I really want to do that the most, but this is a good training ground for me, even though I can't stand talking on the phone.
Well, you're doing great. Are you kidding me? We've never met before, and we're talking on the phone.
I get this from my dad. My dad does not like talking on the phone, I feel like every time I talk to him on the phone, the most he'll go is like 20 minutes, but the whole time I have this feeling that he's like, he's like hoping I'm going to say, okay, Dad, I'll talk to you later, because he doesn't like talking on the phone,
Yeah, you know what? I kind of get that. I'm not a big phone talker. I'm a texter.
Yeah, I'm a very big texter, I'll tell you. I text so many people, even if they don't text, I text them. But then sometimes I have to make the call, and I'm hoping it's going to last 30 seconds to a minute, and that's it. But when it's an easy conversation like you and I are having, that's when I can immerse myself in a phone call, Yeah. But if it's like, if I'm talking to somebody I don't want to talk to right now, It's just I just want to end it fast, you know.
Yes. You know what's the worst for me is calling, like making an appointment somewhere, or like calling a business where I don't know the people or whatever. I don't know. I get very anxious making those calls.
Yeah. I hate when they put you on hold and that stupid music is playing.
Yes.
And you think to yourself, this song is so bad. I wonder who does it. Can I find it on iTunes? You know? Yeah, I can't stand it. So, do you have any podcasts with LeeAnn coming up?
We have another book club coming up at some point, and can't remember. LeeAnn texted us about doing a podcast. I'm trying to remember what we talk about so many different ideas. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. But we definitely have a few book club podcasts coming up. We have a stack of books that we've been reading. A group of us.
I hope she gets her podcast with Miss Pat soon.
Oh my goodness! I know that's been dragging on, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Did you read that book?
No, I didn't.
That book? It's so good.
Yeah. I do my best reading when it comes to autobiographies. I'm not a nonfiction type of guy, you know. I have a short attention span to read a made up story, you know, unless it's a screenplay. You know, I can read a screenplay no problem, but when it comes to nonfiction, I just don't have the patience for it, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I hope she gets that one. Yeah, she's been talking about it for a while and stuff. I sent her an email around Christmas time. I said to her, "You're doing so great with this show. You know, come up with more taboo stuff." I said.
More taboo stuff? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear you guys talk about more taboo stuff, you know, and everything. She's been so busy. I didn't hear back from her though.
Yeah, she has been crazy, crazy busy. They have so much going on.
Yeah, every episode you guys, you and Kathy especially, you're just, laying on the couch and curling your toes and just telling stories.
Yeah, it's very comfortable. I mean, it's great for me because it's just a social time. It's just a time that I get to hang out with some friends, and which honestly, most of the time I wouldn't work that into my schedule because I am too busy with work or kids or whatever. But then when we're booking a podcast, it's like, oh, okay, this is a scheduled time. This is a commitment that I get to talk to some friends. So, yeah.
Yeah. Is it a long drive back home afterwards with the traffic?
No, we live so close to one another right now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, I walk over a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's one of the few things I don't like about LA is the traffic.
Yeah, that's a serious drag. But no, I do not have to. I luckily do not have to worry about that. With LeeAnn, I can literally walk over there in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just anticipating, my trip to LA in May, and my mom with her shoulder all fucked up. I'm just afraid, it's going to be really stressful for her, especially in the traffic when she's steering, the car and stuff.
Yeah.
But she did say she's probably going to want us to take Uber a lot of the time.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
so,
that's a great invention, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny. The weekend before my accident, I went in my first Uber. I went from one bar to the next. I was drunk and I was with a friend, and they had bottled water in the back seat. I was like, yes, I was like, Uber is pretty cool, and I've been in maybe 2 or 3 of them since. But I mostly take cabs.
Yeah.
I just can't stand cabs, though, because they drive very slow, and they do it deliberately so they can get more money from you. You know, and the cab drivers over here in Reading, oh my God, they are characters. They People here in general don't have much teeth because they're all on crack, or
Wow.
or they're
Not
old.
advertising well for Reading.
Oh, everybody knows it. I mean, I put a status out a couple months ago. I was like, I've been in Reading for almost 3 years. I can't remember the last time I saw teeth, and everyone got it. And just over here, they're just very, weird and eccentric, you know.
Reading, teeth optional.
Yeah, teeth optional. Oh my God. So there's this game that I like to play with my guests. And by the way, LeeAnn and I have not played this game yet because every time we're like at the 1 hour mark and she's going on a rant about something, it's always followed by, hey, Tommy, I have to go pick up my daughters now. And we never get to play it. So what this is it's an anti-James Lipton questionnaire, inside the actor studio.
Yeah.
It's slumber party questions.
Okay.
And how this works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me the same question and I answer it.
Okay.
The exact same one.
Okay.
Kirsten, are you ticklish?
Yes. Tommy, are you ticklish?
Oh, yes, I am baby ticklish. I get a knee-jerk reaction when you tickle me. I've been known to hit a few people in the groin. What's your favorite part of the body?
Favorite part of the body, the eyes.
That's a popular one.
Yeah. How about you?
I love the belly button. I always have. It's been there my whole life and stuff. People think I'm weird when I tell them that. What color are your toenails painted?
My toenails are painted bright pink right now, like fuchsia.
Nice.
What color are your toenails painted?
They're not painted right now, but last time they were purple with sparkles.
Oh, purple with sparkles. Fantastic.
Yeah, I've been painting my toes since I was 13. I remember when my mom caught me. She was just like surprised. Here's a question I just started asking. What would you say is your best personality trait?
Oh boy, my best personality trait. This is a tough one. I don't know. Can I ask you first?
Yes, you can.
Okay, what is your best personality trait?
Probably my sense of empathy.
Oh, that's good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's very important to have. I'm trying to think. What is my best personality trait? I'm loyal. Loyal to my friends and family. Maybe that's it.
Your loyalty, then.
Yes.
Nice. That is a very good one to have. And then my favorite question: is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Oh, any stinky smell makes me gag. I do not have. I have a low tolerance for stink. Yeah. I mean, I guess trash. I lived in New York before I moved to LA.
Yeah.
And trash in the summer, and sometimes there are like garbage strikes and whatever, and I just remember the smell of trash in the heat. Like, it is just disgusting. Yeah. How about you? What's your gag-inducing smell?
Either farts or feet.
Also horrible.
Yeah. The last month I was in the hospital, I was very grumpy from the medication they gave me, and the nurses didn't want to go near me, so they did not change my socks during that month. So I had very bad athlete's foot for 6 months after that.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, my foot was all black and everything. It was just
Oh.
gross. Yeah, that was the worst ever. Yeah, and it's funny. I was an athlete in high school. I did football, wrestling, and track. Never got athlete's foot once. I have always taken care of my feet, but that was just, oh, it was terrible, you know. And I've actually talked to a few people who have had like a broken foot or a broken leg, and they've told me that actually having stinky feet is part of it, especially when I didn't have a cast, but a lot of them did, and they say when they have the cast off, that's when it's really bad.
Oh, wow.
It has like a sour milk smell or something.
Ew.
Yeah.
Sour milk. That's a bad one, too. Yuck.
Yeah. Oh, I've talked to a lot of people that I've played this game with from New York, and they say, yeah, the trash in New York is one of them. So it's not just you; it's everyone who lives in New York.
Oh, so gross.
I've never been to New York. That's like on my list someday. How was it when you were living there?
I loved it so much. I honestly didn't think I'd ever leave. It's such a, there's an energy in New York that can't really be explained. I think that probably everybody says that, but it's one of those things that when you get there, you go, oh, right, that's what this is. And there's just so much, there's so much to do. It's different than LA in that LA is really like sort of a one industry town where it's all about the entertainment industry, film, television, music. And so even people in other industries are sort of supporting that main industry. And LA is just, there's just a diversity to like what people are doing there. People are there for so many different reasons, doing so many different things, and living in such close proximity. It's really cool. Just so much. There's amazing buildings and amazing art, and Central Park is amazing, and the theater there, and just there's so much to love about New York. Yeah.
Yeah, someday I'll make it out there. Have you been back since?
I have a couple of times. I used to run marathons a lot. I ran the New York Marathon, and I went back for that. I went back for a wedding. I went back for, what's the last time that I went back? Oh, we took our kids to New York a couple of years ago, 3 years ago maybe. Yeah, I love it. I don't get back enough. I've only been back maybe 4 times since I left New York, which was 25 years ago.
Yeah, I have a friend. He's been there the last 5 or 6 years. He's trying to get out because it's not the New York that he lived in for years before that.
Sure, yeah. Well, I'm sure. I mean, every time I go back, it has changed so much from when I lived there. So I can only imagine. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's funny. San Francisco is like that too. I'm so glad I'm not in the Bay Area anymore. They're they got the philosophy of diversifying, and all that and stuff. But it's just it's pretentious,
Oh.
Their philosophy pretty much is this: be yourself, be free, and be somewhere else because you don't fit in our group.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
It's true though. They're awful out there,
Aw.
And of course the homeless situation has gotten worse since I left.
Yes, I think everywhere.
Yeah. Over here in Reading, though, they're actually trying to make an attempt to fix it over here because it's pretty bad over here. We have a shopping center down the street, and God, there's just people camping out there all the time. And we have security here now, so they don't like come near our apartment complexes. They were doing that for a long time.
Wow.
It was pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So, as I wrap this up, I have a couple jokes for you.
Okay, great.
Yes, I'm going to let out your inner Canadian here. Everybody knows the old nursery rhyme. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many kids she didn't know what to do. What did her right leg say to her left leg?
I don't know. What did her right leg say to her left leg?
Nothing. They never met. You know, you know the you know the difference between a golf ball and a G-spot?
I don't know.
It takes a man 20 minutes to find a golf ball. I told that one to my mother. She laughed. Oh my God, you should hear the second podcast I did with LeeAnn. I told her this long story joke, right? And I laughed, and she was just like, "Oh, you are funny." Yeah, being married to Bird, I could see opposites do attract. So Kirsten,
She's a very funny woman too.
yeah, she is very funny. She made me laugh quite a bit too. Well, Kirsten, I thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, my pleasure. It was great to talk to you.
Yes, this was a lot of fun. I hope I wasn't boring at all. I know I talked a lot.
No, not at all. Yeah, I'm really impressed with the sheer volume of podcasts you've done. That's really impressive.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I'm just lucky to have great people like yourself come on and, share your journey and all that stuff.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, you have yourself a great day, and, talk to you again in the future, and let Kathy know.
I will.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a pretty deep conversation because I went through hell in that level 2 group home I was in.
Okay, I will reach out to her about it.
Okay.
All
right. Yes.
Okay, great to talk to you, Tommy.
Okay, and don't let the traffic get you down getting your kids out of school.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Well, there you have it. Kirsten DiPatri. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh my God, I heart Canadians. They are the best people, and she's a lot of fun, and she's got great stories. I really enjoyed talking to her. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!